Today on the Cool Stuff Guys Like channel, we're going to do a little concrete grinding. In the back corner of my house, I've got this issue where there's a step where the concrete has kind of settled in one spot and created a kind of an area for water to puddle. But the problem is that the only way for the water to eventually go is to seep into the ground, which is right in the back corner of my basement. So I don't really want that to happen. So what I want to do here is create kind of a small kind of ditch or channel to send the water out and down this kind of ramped set of pavers into this area where I've got a French drain. And I've already chiseled it in, just sort of roughed it in. I used a Matic. That's probably not the right tool for the job, but it worked really well. You can use some concrete chisels. The only thing I'd recommend is just be careful, because if you've got some thin concrete, there's always a chance you might crack it and create a worse problem. So you could always just go right in with the cup wheel, the concrete grinding wheel on the angle grinder. You're just going to have a little bit more grinding to do. So I saved a little bit of work while taking on a little bit of risk there. This is a cheap cup grinding wheel from Amazon. It was like $7. It's a 4-inch, and I've got it on a 7.5 amp Porter cable grinder, which should be plenty of power. Now it slightly terrifies me because I kind of feel like one of these little ceramic teeth could go flying like a projectile. So I'm always going to be conscious of which way that's aiming. I'm keeping the guard on my grinder. I see a lot of people take that off. It does actually protrude slightly below the guard though, so you can still go flat if you want to. And then I'm going to use some PPE. So I'm going to go for the full face shield because I don't want to get hit in the face by a rock. And of course, whenever there is concrete dust involved, you always want to use a really nice respirator. So this is just your standard 3M respirator. I'll put a link to all this stuff in the description in case you end up doing a project similar to this. And we're just going to make sure everything stays sloping downhill and that I don't accidentally get too carried away and then create a new spot for water to dam up right here. One more thing, I'm just going to put a box fan on it so that I can kind of try to just blow the dust out of here so I don't end up totally covered in dust when this is over. Here we go. So my cheap little concrete grinder wheel has worked, I'd say, really well for this little project. It's draining all the water that I'm trying to drain here. I mean, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but at this point we just want function and somewhat not terrible looking on this old, 1950s concrete pad that's just trying to squeak a few more years out of it. As far as using the little wheel, it was really pretty easy to use. Of course, it obviously made a lot of dust. I was cutting dry with it. I'm sure if you're cutting wet, that's going to help a lot, but just keeping the fan on it and blowing it out for outdoor use, I would say it worked really well. It didn't pull or jerk too bad. It didn't seem to throw projectiles like I might have expected it would have. And for $7, if it helps keep the basement a little bit more even more dry, I think that's a win. I've got to obviously watch these seams, make sure they're well sealed, but otherwise you can see the water drains right down to the area where the French drain is, which is about 8 feet off the house. So I'm sure that's gonna tremendously help. Hope this helps you out if you've got some little projects you're doing at your house. Thanks for watching.